talk to the crows on the wire. They carry a voice I still know. My hands in the dirt, pulling fire from seeds that the dead helped me sow. The gardens remember what I can't forget. A woman who lived here I've already met.
People versus poison! People versus poison! People versus poison! People versus poison!
We've had enough. It's people versus poison. Corporations like Monsanto do not get immunity for causing cancer. Do you hear me? Corporations like Monsanto do not get immunity for
People versus poison! 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 People versus poison!
We are done being sick, and we are done being told this is the very best that we can do. We are awake. We are organized, and we are not going anywhere.
Justice in a country that is supposed to be of, for, and by the people should be bringing justice for the people. But instead today, inside of this building, it is bringing justice for a corporation that has been poisoning the people for decades, Monsanto and Bayer.
Stop the poison now! Stop the poison now! Stop the poison now! Stop the poison now!
We are in Washington, D.C. with Dell.
Yeah, inside the Heritage Foundation of all places.
Somehow.
Which is nice job, like securing their spot. Very cool.
I know. We're just in the flow because we were actually just at the. Would you like to share what we're doing
Well,
here?
we're just blocks away from the Supreme Court. We were there. I'm one of the sponsors of the People versus Poison march that just took place inside the Supreme Court right now as we speak. We have Department of Justice lawyers actually, on the side of Bayer Monsanto, trying to get liability protection from lawsuit by the Supreme Court. So something I don't think any citizen in America wants. Once, liability, the right to sue a company, if its product hurts or injures you is, a critical pillar of a free market system. And I think there's an irony, if you want to call it an irony, that President Trump, a president that ran on, I'm just a businessman, I'm going to run this country like a business, who seems to believe in, sort of conservative free market values and things like that, that he would support sending his own Department of Justice lawyers over, not to fight on behalf of the citizens and the consumers of America, but on behalf of a corporation that, let's be clear, if this product was actually safe, then why has it lost lawsuits against 100,000 individuals so far when it comes to glyphosate, over $11 billion paid out. I think they have offered up, we'll give $7.5 billion more if you'll just sort of let us out of this. And then they go and essentially, I think, blackmail Donald Trump in saying, we're going to pull our product away from all farmers, destroy your farming industry. If you don't get involved, stockpile this product and protect us from liability. So I think it's more than just being about a pesticide right now or an herbicide. We are, looking at a question. Essentially what they're trying to say is that the EPA already said our product is safe. Therefore, how can we be sued? That EPA sort of approval should be what's used as, they have to label it, not us. They have to tell you what's going on. And we shouldn't be the ones being sued. That's sort of my understanding of the argument. Think about what that argument would mean if it's going to set precedents. every product we use is approved by a regulatory agency. I mean, one of the things, I was Robert Kennedy Jr.'s director of communications when he ran for president. The entire thing he was running on was the corporate capture of our regulatory agencies. So are we to understand that if you can capture an agency, if you can fake your science, and you can get through a gauntlet somehow and get a stamp of approval from a regulatory agency, you can never be sued again? So there's no product you'd be able to touch. Then there is no recall on Vioxx. There is no recall on OxyContin. There is no understanding of Johnson & Johnson's baby powder causing cancer. I mean, you're about to destroy the entire purpose of of a courtroom and a right to a trial by a jury. And so it's a really unfortunate thing that's happening here, but this is all a part of an issue we've been dealing with. I mean, ironically for me, my big issue is vaccines. I mean, that is what I have a nonprofit, the Informed Consent Action Network. It's all about informed consent. I want to have a choice in everything that happens. I want to be informed about the benefits and the side effects of everything, every product we have. And then when I heard both sides, I get to make that choice. When you look at vaccines, the mandates for vaccines are taking that choice away from us. Informed consent, by the way, is the first rule of the Nuremberg Code, which came out of Nazi Germany. When we finally tried the Nazi doctors, every free nation in the world signed on to the Nuremberg Code as the standard for modern medicine. We're never again going to you're never allowed to force an innocent person into a medical decision. Not through force, not through coercion. It's really broad. It says we are never going to do that again. And yet that's what our vaccine program does. And the reason I bring up vaccines, in this setting is that's the first time our government gave liability protection. They did the exact same thing in 1986. The pharmaceutical industry blackmailed Ronald Reagan. They said, we're going to stop making all vaccines unless you protect us from liability. I mean, look at what these arguments are. We're losing too much money from the toxic effects of our product. And instead of making a better product, protect us from liability so we can keep poisoning people without having our company harmed. We're going to harm people, but we don't want our company harmed. And our government stepped up then and fell prey to that. And we're watching it in real time here. So, it's these are really important issues.
No kidding. And you speak about it so powerfully and eloquently, and it's been very emotional for me. And I'm wondering how you've been feeling. I mean, I just hearing the stories of the lives that were taken through. I mean, I did have to excuse myself for a second to literally hug a tree and cry because I was just feeling Jack's spirit and Ben from Zen's son, and just the power of these, the energy that is on the other side, but that's still so much alive in these cases of death and despair. And it reminds me of abuse, like when you say it's like, not only am I going to take to harm you, I'm going to keep myself completely unaccountable, completely unreliable to take any self-accountability, which is the pattern of the cycle of abuse on our earth and then on our human bodies. Yeah. So it's very powerful to feel that there's this much energy standing up as much as what's coming up on the other side, that we're facing it. And I'm really amazed. How did you get involved? Like, what was your moment, your aha moment, awakening when you?
Well, I mean, look, I'll say when it comes to Monsanto, that aha moment goes back to my family. I remember my dad, saying, when we were all sitting around the dinner table and there was some story about how Monsanto was suing organic farmers who were trying to keep the Monsanto GMO products off of their land, but it would blow across from other farms and then suddenly start growing, or fertilizing, their plants. And then Monsanto would test their plants and then sue them to pay them for having contaminated their organic farm, and was shutting down organic farms that couldn't afford to pay Monsanto. And I remember in that moment, I remember how old I was, probably a teenager sitting at the dinner table. And my dad is like, this company is satanic. So I've had an opinion about Monsanto
What do they call it?
Monsanto, I think, is the one
Monsanto.
woman whose husband had died. Monsanto, I love that.
Yeah, that's
I
Jack.
almost stole it and put it in my dad's mouth, but let's just say he did say the term Satan. But, then I got a direct moment. I was a producer on the CBS Talk Show, The Doctors. I won an Emmy Award celebrating medicine and science on television.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And actually in 2015, when the World Health Organization, they have a cancer group called IARC, the International Agency on the Research of Cancer. They had a 2-week symposium back in 2015 investigating glyphosate. They had experts from all over the world, including all the experts Monsanto wanted to provide. And after that 2-week symposium, they ruled that glyphosate was probably carcinogenic to human beings. That's the second highest rating for cancer there is, second only to does cause cancer. So I was working on a doctor's television show, and I had this bend already on Monsanto, and I thought, I've never seen someone from Monsanto on television. Let me just reach out and see if I could talk them into coming onto the doctors. So I reached out to Monsanto. I said, look, this product of yours, glyphosate, has just got the second highest cancer rating in the world. I work on the doctor's television show. Would you like to defend your product on our show? And they said, yes, we would. And we will send Donna Farmer, our head of toxicology, to your show. And they had a bunch of rules for me, most of which I sort of broke. One of them was they didn't want to have a debate, but when I got Donna Farmer coming, I reached out to the GMO activist Jeffrey Smith. I actually called a bunch of people and said, who is the best person to talk about Monsanto? And they're like, this guy Jeffrey Smith has written 2 books about them. And so I called him and I said, I have the head of toxicology, Donna Farmer, is coming to defend glyphosate on the doctors. He's like, they never do television. He's like, who are you? I was like, would you be interested in debating? He's like, oh my God, where is it? I think at that point when I finally got through to him, it was like a day away. He's like, I'm in the middle of a conference. Can I zoom in? And so he did. He zoomed in, and it was a huge debate. I remember it was really funny because my executive producers didn't really understand what this subject was about. Remember them saying, I think this is in the weeds. Kind of funny. I was like, yeah, it is in the weeds, but it's a huge topic. But by the time I started going, and it's the doctors, a very upstanding talk show, but it sounded like a Jerry Springer episode. The crowd was like booing and hissing when Donna Farmer was saying you could drink this stuff. And I remember I'm on the headset, and my executive producer is saying, what is this story? Del, this is incredible. These people are going crazy. So that was 2015, that the World Health Organization says this product is causing cancer. So for 10 years, this company knows they've got a dangerous product. The World Health Organization is against you. And now you're losing in courtrooms. And again, instead of going back to the drawing boards and let's make a new product, the fact that we live in a country that is so, interconnected with lobbying and the power of money that they decide it'd be far better to just go to the government and get liability protection. I think it shows you what's wrong with the way our system works right now.
Completely, on every level,
Yeah,
literally
on every
from the
level.
ground up.
From the ground up.
When my first movie, when I became a producer, an associate producer, was the first in Common Ground.
Oh,
and
great, yeah.
learned all about glyphosate and it started to really unearth in me, so to speak, what had been these layers of poison.
Yeah.
These layers, I had our podcast is also based on releasing the shame and composting it for something beautiful to grow. Because unless we share these stories of what's gone wrong, whether it was my childhood sexual abuse or, all the way towards the earth being abused on a constant basis.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing for me. And so to find humans like you, the whistleblower, right, to actually speak out about this and allow the Jerry Springer to exist, or allow the turmoil to be, and to still charge ahead and keep showing up. It's a remarkable gift to humanity that you do this. And I would love to hear, of course this just happened today, a moment in history. What else is really alive for you right now in seeing how this planet can re-beautify and how we can rebel?
Well, it's really interesting that, there's really, if you think of it, the spiritual part of this. One of the things that,
Favorite subject.
I grew up, my dad's a minister, so, but I got into science. I ended up working on a medical talk show. I'm all about the science. And when I started investigating vaccines, made 2 movies now. First one, Vaxxed, which I think changed the conversation across the world. I have one right now, An Inconvenient Study, that is 100 million views. It's being debated in parliaments around the world, about to go on an international tour just for all the people that want to watch it. But,
Wow.
Getting into that issue, you start really seeing the world differently. Running Bobby Kennedy's campaign as director of communications, there is a good and evil, there's a darkness and light issue. And if you want to re-beautify, I think our image of what that really means, you think of Eden,
Exactly.
right? You think of this promise,
I talk about it all the time.
the first story ever told, right? This is how I refer to it. The first story ever told talks about we are created in the image and likeness of God, and that we are given just this plentiful bounty of clean, crystal clear water and all the fruits and vegetables you can imagine, and, dominion over animals and plants. And, when you think of Adam and Eve and this idea, and God only gives Adam and Eve one rule, right? There's only one, this is all yours, just one simple rule, not 10 commandments, just one. Do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, lest you shall surely die. And I think about that a lot now. The issues we're talking about now is exactly what I think that meant, which is, sure, you want to understand good and evil, you want to be a good person. What I think that is saying is never believe that you have an understanding deep enough to make decisions that are like God-like decisions, that are going to affect humanity. As the Bible says, God knows every hair on your head. I'd take it a step further. God knows the million bacteria and viruses that are, in a beautiful concert inside of your stomach right now. There's millions of bacteria and viruses all over my hands right now, and they've been there since the dawn of man. And in our hubris, in our quest for the knowledge of good and evil, companies are now making me put, antibacterial soap and wiping out this balance. They're vaccinating me as though killing one virus or one bacteria. Frankly, it's only 16 or 17 diseases right now they vaccinate for. What is that going to do to the entire balance that is being held inside of my stomach? To think that you can mess with these things, to mess with nature and not have repercussions, that hubris, that break from the humility of understanding our Creator is why I believe we have the sickest kids we have ever seen. We are on that journey to dying. Our species is dying in the hands of scientists right now that have lost all sight of our creation, have lost all sight of God, have lost all sight of our promise for bounty and beauty, as you've said. And so you can see it in every place. What is Monsanto doing? It is destroying the biome of our earth. In order so us to not have to weed our garden, I'm going to destroy the biome of the earth. And then what is that product doing? That's all of our plants. It's going in, it's destroying the biome inside of our stomach. One of the simplest problems with glyphosate is that it's an antibiotic by nature. So it's killing my gut biome. And now that it's killing my biome, I can't digest properly. I'm getting a leaky gut, and that is leading to inflammation through my whole body. And it's allowing toxic chemicals to go from my stomach and make up in my brain. All things God was not doing to us. All things we were perfectly designed to handle. And I'll even say to an atheist out there, we're in the way of evolution. Whether you believe it's divine design or evolution, we have millennia where we've been perfectly designed to live on this planet if we do not mess with our nature. And so when you think about we're poisoning the ground, it is, you kill weeds, you're killing people, but then think about the same people will scream global warming, CO2. You know what the greatest lungs to absorb CO2 are on the planet? The dirt. And now the dirt is so dead, it has no bacteria, it has no biome, it's not pulling any of the CO2 out of the air. This is something that Zach Bush is so great at talking about and really, got me to this. We don't need to get rid of cars. We don't need to get rid of industry. We need to bring our earth back online. We've got to get the lungs of this earth breathing again, and our CO2 problem, if there is one, will disappear immediately. And so all of these things, when you look at all of it, it's science playing God and then destroying, our earth, our environment, and our bodies. And so if we want to survive, then we're going to have to stand up as people, recognize our birthright as being, created in the image and likeness of God, creators ourselves. We should be creating goodness. We should be speaking out and speaking our truth. And that's what was so lovely about this event today, was to see, every race, religion, creed, age group, every political represent, all speaking to, not protecting this industry that is currently poisoning us. So I think that this is a great moment to be alive. We have global powers that are trying to use these issues to control our bodies, to take away our rights. So in many ways, it's a scary time. I say we're like in the prequel to every dystopian novel we ever read. We just never heard, how did you get to that point? How did you get to the point where you're having test tube babies? How are you getting to the point where there's an ongoing war that never stopped, that kept you locked in your homes? How did you get to the point where you're turning each other in and there was a big brother? It all started here. We have social media comes, we have AI, we watch the Biden administration end free speech and, take, people getting shut down and censored. And we're watching decisions like this to take our control. One of the greatest things in America is the right to sue an industry that's hurting us. But it's also waking us up. COVID and the pandemic, all of these things, it's really exciting to be waking up. And what I would say to people is, if you're getting depressed or you're getting worried about, all the things that are wrong in this world, we're in a cataclysmic moment right now. We are actually in that moment where we will decide if we become that dystopian novel or if we actually turned in another direction, woke up enough to get back to a concept of evolution, to get back to saying how powerful is a being that in its birthright realizes that they are created by God and that they're in the likeness of God. What is our potential if we were allowed to express it? What is our potential if we start seeing ourselves that way, not as victims, not as bodies that are dying and need pharma to keep us alive, but a God-given birthright that surely must know internally what it means to be alive. I think that's the direction I'm fighting for. I think so many people are waking up in that moment, and we should be happy that we have the pressures that are taking place right now to bring that out of us. So don't mourn this moment. This is one of the most exciting times to be alive. I think history books are going to write about this generation and these people, all of us right now, just like I used to think when I was a kid in history class, I wish I was with George Washington when he decided to cross the river and change the fate of a war. What it would have been like to stand next to Martin Luther King as he walked with his hands by his side and, people getting clubbed by police officers, how exciting that would have been. I didn't realize that in my lifetime would be maybe one of the biggest battles of all time, which is literally now the battle for our species, our birthright, and our right to control our bodies, to have our bodies be healthy, and to stand up as sovereign beings in the greatest nation in the world and be that beacon of light and hope for the world. We should be happy, and I'll just say this, not one of those history books, not one of those pages in the history book ever had a story about we outnumbered them 50-1 and the battle lasted 3 minutes. No one would care. Our history books are filled with people that stood up against insurmountable odds, felt a providence moving through them, something much bigger than saying you're going to win this, even though it doesn't look good on paper. This is that moment. We've got to stop worrying about, don't look at the problem. Don't worry about that big stone building the Supreme Court. Don't worry about Monsanto, Obear. Those are just trying to paralyze you in fear. Ask God, what is the one thing I need to do today? Start moving that grain of sand one at a time. I think when Jesus said, if you have the faith of the grain of a mustard seed, you could move a mountain. I've always like, well, how much faith is that? Don't I have that much faith? But I see it differently as I look at the experience. If I just move, if I just believe I can move a mustard seed, if I have faith that if I keep moving something this small, that one day I'll look up and that mountain won't be there. That's how mountains move. It's us doing each little part ourselves. Focus on what you can do. How this all turns out, that's in God's hands. That's what faith is. And that's the faith that I think is going to bring us to the promised land.
Hallelujah.
All right.
I have, with your permission, I would love to share a story that came through when you were sharing this with me. So when you said moving that grain of sand one at a time, what we decided to do was to start planting gardens one at a time in every single space we could in Santa Barbara. We live in California.
Love that.
And so, as you said, it's about this re-nourishment of the soil, which of course then nourishes the soul, right?
Yeah.
On every level. So we have children's gardens, we have elder gardens, we planted with indigenous incredible angels with Zach Bush, actually.
Great.
I filmed with him. In the last 3 years, I had a wake-up call. I've had several in my life, but I had one where on New Year's Eve, I pledged my life to a tree. And I asked to follow her lead and to just show me what to do.
Yeah.
I had been a socialite, philanthropist in Montecito in California, and the belle of every ball and that whole story, and it started to feel really empty. Yeah. And I enjoyed the play and the joy, but I felt there was a vacancy that was starting to eat me up. And so I after the last party that 3 years ago, after New Year's, where I was like the face of this thing at the Miramar, I went to the tree and I asked her blessing to show me the way. And about 10 days after, I met John Rulak of Common Ground in a field, barefoot, because I love the earth. I grew up in gardens. My mother's Southern, so the connection to God, Spirit, and Mother Nature was always at my footsteps. And through whatever abuse I'd gone through as a child, nature as healer would always restore me. And so my hope is to wake up the philanthropists that know that there's more inside of them, that they could move the mountains by funding and fueling this kind of support where we regenerate the planet more than America. We cross-pollinate with Africa. We one garden at a time, we change the world, because that's the thing I've learned through, the incredible movies I've had the honor of being part of, and Feeding Tomorrow is one of them. Hospital gardens, food as medicine.
Love that.
Right? And everywhere. And it woke up, it just kept waking me up, like step by step by step. So it's a true beyond honor to sit here with you, but also to put these concepts together, to weave the web that, the grandmother spider and God knows very well how to do, whatever you want to call that kind of a blueprint. But to figure out a system and a web where community by community, we become our sovereign stewards, where we can continue to grow what we want to grow and eat what we want to digest instead of the poisons that you shared. I had stomach issues my entire life. I've had health problems up and down, mental health issues, all kinds of things. And I've studied food as a major medicine. Yeah. So that's something I know that that's the grain of sand, garden by garden, that I'm so much so that I spoke, this is actually kind of amazing. Elizabeth, our mutual friend and producer, brought in the DiCaprio family to listen to me speak on mental health in Santa Barbara at a very prestigious country club. This was back in September. And I publicly speak as well, and was speaking about the connection between the mental health centers, because I wanted to get them gardens so that they could have their fingers in the soil, their feet in the soil, and also become, these sovereign stewards of their diet and of their life and of their connection to the earth. Because I think, like Zach talks about, the gut-brain connection is so important. Huge. And it's essential, and it's like the womb of our world, right? It's the gut too. So I ended up, having all these adventures of planting these gardens, but it came to me very strongly that after I met George and Peggy.
I love George. He's a friend of mine too.
Okay, great.
I do know George.
Say hi.
Great. Yeah.
He's amazing. So he came to listen, and they're involved with Food Cycle LA, and I'm involved with Veggie Rescue in Santa Barbara, where we repurpose, wasted vegetables that would be
I love
to
that
the
too.
landmine,
Yeah,
and it repurposes to every nonprofit in our community now. So like making those financial decisions with the philanthropy instead of, you know, the table linens that I didn't know were going to the table linens. And I have no judgment about the path that I've had up till now, because it's the part of waking me up.
Absolutely.
It was the gift.
Yeah.
But so I see this, I meet them, we have this beautiful dinner. We have dinner with the Lama. We have this incredible experience. We go to Italy for a wedding, and on the flight back, we'd been at the Cotswolds in an English garden, and I saw what regeneration really could look like the level of peace with the land, and I was skipping with the cows, and life was just magic. Mm-hmm. Every blackberry was delicious. You could feel the earth and everything. And it was so beautiful to me. And we got on a plane right before my son's 13th birthday. And I listen to spirit. That's the only way I work. And that's the only way I ever have. And I got on the plane and I opened my screen and went to write, because I always write. I just say, okay, God, tell me what you want to say. Since I was a little girl, I wrote on planes, very connected to the spirits up above. And so I went to write, and my fingers said, open your TV. And I was like, what? And I opened it, and it was the Titanic. And when you talked about the precipice, right, where you could go this way, like we are at that moment in time where the iceberg is right here. Yeah. And we can choose to make a left or right.
Exactly.
And when I as a little girl, I would watch the love scenes, but I hated watching destruction. And so I made myself watch what happens when the sinking ship or the earth is going down. Yeah. What's happening? What are the people's reactions? And there was one moment in the film that I'd seen before, but had never heard it like this. And it was after Molly Brown was trying to convince, to share her boat. And the guy with the oar is like, move, we have to get in. And they said, sit down or we'll shoot, right? We're sit down. And he goes back after the rich are sorted. He goes back for the rest of the people, and he takes the oar, and you can feel the ice, right? Just chilling. And I can feel it now. And he turns to this, like all these bodies, and he says, we waited too long. Yeah. And that is the moment I decided to give away all of my money from my philanthropic fund that I had reserved to all the gardens. I was no longer going to wait. And that's why this podcast is truly what I'm doing. We've recorded 60 plus world leaders and actors and all kinds of characters to come to this conversation. Yeah. Back to God, back to source, back to the light, and back to the truth that the ship can go the other way, or we can sink. And the truth is, once we're sinking, no one is safe. There is no rich versus poor. There is no right versus wrong. You are just going down. And we have the opportunity right now in this moment, if my voice is through philanthropic connections, wake up. Yeah. Give it away. What else are you holding on to? That is the weight. And I'm not saying what to do because I want to be bossy or I want to be right. But that is the gut instinct inside of me that was like, I will no longer wait to hold on to this weight of this philanthropic power that actually keeps people separate. I'm not doing it anymore. Yeah. And so that's really why I'm here, is to stop waiting. And I'm so grateful that no one here today waited to show up to continue this mission and to do it together, because that's also the only way it's going to get done.
The only way we're going to get there is you have to say yes. You have to do your part. You've got to sit down, get quiet, meditate, listen to Spirit, as you said. Spirit is guiding all of us to open that screen or do that next thing. And the media and our television sets try to tell us that we're incapable. They want us to feel overwhelmed. Exactly. They want us to just give up and throw in the towel. Let the government take care of me because I can't figure it out anymore. It's just too much bad news. I don't know how to deal with it. So turn the television off, turn the noise off, and ask, what can I do in this life? Because you're right, we do not have a lot of time. We are not going to be a generation that will get to walk away and say, well, sorry, I screwed the next generation after me, but I won't see it. We're going to see it. this next 5 years of our existence will probably decide the fate of all humanity. So if you plan on being alive for the next 5 years, you're going to go to bed and you're going to have a moment where you're going to ask yourself, did I do everything I could? And I hope that you're going to bed in that moment saying, oh my God, we did it. Oh my God, we did it.
We're going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, what?
Say that tonight.
We did it.
We did it today, and that's all there is.
We did it
really,
today.
right? There's all there is. And I always joke, my mother's Native American took her name Big Tree, and I always live by it's a good day to die. People are like, that's depressing. I was like, well, then you're not seeing it the right way. For me, every time I go to bed, I think if this is my last day, if this tonight is a death, then how was my life lived today? What will my kids remember? I don't want them, I get asked this a lot by the press. Like, what would you want your kids to think? Well, I hope they don't say, oh, he accomplished this and accomplished that. That is not what I'm here for. I hope what my kids say and the way that I live is my dad woke up passionate. He spoke his truth every day and he was always on mission. Whether that mission won or lost was not what drove him. It was the dream and the recognition that we have the ability to change the world every single day. And it's really a joy when you take on that mission.
I talked to my daughter yesterday and I said, that thing you said I would always do? She's like, change the world? And I was like, yeah, she's always said that. Mom, you're off to change the world.
Yeah.
I said, I'm actually going to DC. And she's like, she texted me a photo of the invisible string.
You're going to try and change hell today?
That we're always Montesanto, full circle. Oh, God. I think for me, the more biodiversity we plant in the garden, the more we connect under the soil and above it, the mycelium network, and us working above ground and doing it together. That's exactly what I want my children to feel. And I want them to feel my present love. And so like you saying all of this and knowing that we're working for that world, for them to actually feel, instead of be blocked, instead of be numbed, instead of be constantly bulldozed or tilled over. That time is at the precipice. That is, we are here and we're choosing this. And I think you and I can both share, and we're also choosing spirit and to embody spirit back to earth, because that's, I feel you're really a walking angel. So thank you for blessing you and blessing all of us with the big tree presence. I think it's ironic and not at all that I dedicated my life to a tree, and now I'm sitting here with Mr. Big Tree because I don't watch the news. I can genuinely say I had no idea you were until yesterday. And so it was truly raw and real for me, because I just showed up and said, who am I supposed to know about? And that's what I do everywhere. And I all I know is souls. And so it's not about what you've done, but thank you for who you are.
Thank you for you.
I was a mom who had overcome severe chronic illness, and I started digging into glyphosate, understanding how it's used, how we're exposed, and how all of those facts seem to be hidden.
We are reporting from Washington, D.C. with, I'm just blushing to say, my friend, Kelly Ryerson, whom I have to say, Kelly, when I saw Common Ground for the first time and I saw you, I had like that moment where I was like, wow, I'd love to meet her one day. She's amazing and so pretty and like seems so kind but so honest and real and raw. And I saw you yesterday at People versus Poison, and I just felt like a fangirl, like in your audience, like watching you on the front line, rooting for the people, rooting for the earth. And you're one of my heroes. Oh, so I love you. Yeah. There's no like question. And I loved you. So I loved you when I first saw you on the trailer, and I became a producer and got behind the movement. And then we became friends, like through totally like wonderful friends. and have done dinners together for moms across America and connected with your sister and have
Birthday
memories,
party.
all kinds of things. So now we're sitting in DC and we have this history, and I'm so grateful and honored to say one of my heroes is one of my very dear friends.
Oh, it's
So, and I'm
Thank
so
you.
proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
I would love to just be a listener to whatever your past was that led you here and what you are ready to walk into now.
Okay, that is a question because it's all happened very quickly
Yeah,
for
it
me.
is.
So I had my 2 children, and about 3 years after I had them, I started having strange physical symptoms. I just was not feeling well. And it started with things like stomach aches and then like, dizziness or vibration in my hands. Just strange things were starting to accumulate. And so I went through what most people do and went to Stanford, through the whole Stanford hospital system, actually, because it was my local hospital, saw 18 different specialists, and none of them could figure out what was wrong with me. And it was getting very dire. Like I had very little energy. I had to live with my parents so they could take care of my kids while my husband's working. It was just a really scary time. And finally one day I actually collapsed. And so I went to the ER, and it was the first time they're like, we should probably see what's wrong with her. So I got this long 2-hour MRI, and I was in there and I have these 2 little kids, and I'm like, I have to make it through this. So I started bargaining with God for that whole 2 hours. And I said, if I can come through this clean, you can give me more time on this earth, then I am going to stay here and I'm going to dedicate myself to you, to the planet, and to doing something so that people don't have to suffer the way I've been suffering. So I came out of it, and it really was looking grim. I thought it was going to be MS, because that's what happens is people can't walk. And I got there, and they came in, the doctor came in, and he said, it's a totally clean MRI. There's nothing wrong with you. And so I was crying. I'm like, well then, okay, but what's wrong with me, right?
What is it?
What's wrong with me?
Oh, wow.
So I had been layered on all of these different medications. So 2 antidepressants, a benzodiazepine, and steroids and gabapentin and all these drugs. And so I'm on this whole collection. I don't even know what's doing what at this point, but I know I feel horrible. And so doctors kept saying, well, it's psychological, because that's what they say to women when they can't figure it out. And so I go to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist happens to have intake blood work. That blood work is the first time anyone tested me for vitamin levels. It comes back and I am like a third world person. I have no vitamins. I have scurvy, like an ancient disease of having no vitamin C. I have a borderline beriberi disease, and that's what my eyesight was going. I had just ridiculously low levels, and it had been years probably I wasn't absorbing anything through my gut. And so I bring these results back to the doctor, and the doctor, who was mainstream doctor, said, oh, don't read too much into that. Vitamins don't really matter that much. And so I knew I needed a new doctor. I'm like, I'm literally dying of starvation.
Oh,
okay.
gosh.
So anyway, so I found a new doctor, started building myself back up. She said, I think you should give up gluten. So I did, and I got even better. And then started tapering off all these drugs, which, by the way, just as a shout out to how horrible that is, a drug taper is a nightmare. And it took me 5 years to taper off of all the drugs that they layered on me.
Yeah,
so that was its own thing.
Oh, yeah. How did you do that?
So that was a micro taper, which I had to learn myself, because doctors seem to think you can come off of these drugs just like, oh, cut it in half, and then like another half, and you'll be fine. And then you crash. And so that was a horrible road down. And actually I needed to decide, which area am I going to go into? Is it going to be food, or is it going to be this horrible way people are treated coming off of psychological drugs? Because it was torture. And, but I found a psychiatrist that he actually said, he didn't believe me that you couldn't do these big cuts. And he said, I'm going to show you that you can by doing it blindly. So he gave me a prescription for a month. It was a blind amount. So, and he's like, you don't know how much is in there. It's probably the full amount. It might not be. You don't know. Well, about 2 days in, I'm crashing. And so he said, oh, wow, this really is a dependency. And I'm like, oh my gosh, so this person doesn't know the first thing about these drugs. So I, anyway, so I have that going on, but then at the same time, I'm building myself, right? So I'm coming off the drugs, I'm building myself up. And I give up gluten. I start getting really curious about gluten sensitivity. So I go to Columbia University where they have an amazing celiac center for their symposium that was going to be 2 days. And the scientists are saying, we don't know what's causing it. We don't know why people are gluten sensitive everywhere. And so I went to the microphone and I said, well, are they doing anything on the farm that might be causing this? And no one knew because no one thinks about that. And so I went over, and so that session was over. I go over to the corner, and a guy who works for General Mills comes over and finds me, and he says, yeah, actually, they're spraying Roundup on our grain right before harvest.
Oh, wow.
And I'm thinking, that doesn't sound good at all. Like, has anyone looked into that? Has any, So I did a deep dive in glyphosate, and I could keep going on and on. I did a deep dive in glyphosate, and then around that same time, the glyphosate cancer trials were beginning in San Francisco. And so at that point, I was so upset with the manufacturer, Monsanto, that I had a protest sign, and I went up to San Francisco because I was sure there'd be a big protest against Monsanto because it's such an evil corporation. And so I get there and no one is there. And I walk right into the courtroom and I sit down with the lawyers, and a journalist is behind me. And I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be here. So I started the blog Glyphosate Girl. And I sat in for the first 3 trials and documented every single awful, corrupt thing that was being revealed in those courtroom trials. And suddenly it got taken up, and now I've been working on it ever since.
When was that?
That was 2018.
Wow. So you have been at it.
I've been at it.
And it's been an adventure, I would imagine.
It's been quite an adventure, to say the least.
How do you, first of all, thank you. Not just for me, but truly for everyone on the planet, that you really did some research on your own health.
That's what we have to do.
We have to take our sovereignty back that way. And so you've done so much for this movement. It's extraordinary. I didn't know how long you've been at it. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations. How does it feel to be here right now from where you were to
this situation
people,
right now?
Yeah, versus poison to...
Oh, it is wild because, and this is another personal thing of me. So since probably freshman year in high school, I have been terrified of public speaking, cripplingly scared of public speaking. And I don't know, it's one of those things maybe because you're 14 or something, you're suddenly self-conscious, and then I got in my head. And so when I'd have to do presentations, I'd be like, oh, this is the worst day ever. And this went on for a long time. And then when I first got healthy, I was like, I can't anymore. I've got to get over this. And so I went into this deep dive in public speaking in kind of a rigorous but loving class, chucked into my greatest fear. I'm like, well, I've already had my greatest fear because I nearly died. So I'm ready to get over this public speaking fear, right? And this instructor who I had, she's like, oh, you're a natural for this. You just need to get out of your head. You need to get out of your head. And so I practice. So the thought that many years ago, I was there hyperventilating, speaking in front of a group of 3, to then being at People versus Poison.
Right.
It's a crazy, and I'm standing there, I'm like, I wouldn't have believed me seeing myself then.
How did you get there? What were your tools?
So my tools definitely were, first of all, just of course the practical things. So the easy stuff is learning how to speak, but the scary part is thinking that there are a few things going on with me. One, I think I was shy to share what I was thinking in an effort to want to be liked, right? So I think there's that. And then there's the judgment. What if I say something incorrect? Because then I'm kind of a perfectionist too.
Right.
And so there's that too. And then, but I think it really was a transformation in my purpose that really grounded me, where I'm just, fed up with having limitations. And you realize when you are in these times of you might die or whatever it is, that you've been given a second chance. And so what is the purpose? Well, the purpose is, for some reason, all these things are lining up in my life, and it's bound me and it's calling me. And so there's nothing that's going to stand in my way anymore. So that was that. So yesterday was a big deal for me personally to think of that journey, because I'm not sure how much bigger it can get really than speaking, in front of the Supreme Court at a big rally on TV.
Yeah. I am having all the feels. Oh. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Seriously, so proud of you. Thank you. I'm so proud.
So today,
I'm so proud.
Well, first of all, we have to talk about regeneration, of course, because that's where we come together, extra specially. So I, because with all this fighting against pesticides, that is a very, I can do it, but it's very draining, and you don't really get very far.
Yeah.
So it's like hitting your head against the wall over and over. And you're like,
exactly.
why doesn't anyone care? Like, this is the future of humanity and all life, right? You're not caring. And that's very frustrating.
It's literally the ground up.
Like totally.
That simple.
And so being able to transition off of just being in that battle mode to the regenerative mode was a really, really wonderful thing. And actually, I'd intended to, a few years ago, just go fully, and I am still, but fully farming because it was so fulfilling, and just seeing regeneration. Oh my gosh, how much does it build us up, right?
Right.
And but the truth of the matter is, so I came along with this Make America Healthy Again movement because this is the thing. Bobby Kennedy was the lawyer that was suing Monsanto when I was the glyphosate girl, the blogger. And so that's how I met him. And so I've known him going way back when he had no political anything. And he was just a really wonderful environmental attorney who frankly, probably cared more about pollinators even than people. Very, very deeply connected to nature. And I really connected with him on that. And so then you see, and so of course, when he's running for president, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, sign me up. We're going to get this pollinator situation turned around, right? And so, and then ultimately, of course, he goes and joins Donald Trump. We still hold some hope because it's still Bobby Kennedy. We know where he lies. And then you get to this next level and you realize, wow, the special interests are coming in and just eating us alive. And all of these hopes that we had are dashed very quickly. And it's so sad. And it's not because it's this administration. It's frankly like our system. And this is just what happens. It's just always about the money. And like very sad things. Like I've learned that some people in government have, certainly not in my camp, but have said things like, don't worry that the bees are dying. They can always make more.
What?
That's the attitude. And right now there's this huge fertilizer price.
More?
They can make more. They can make more bees. It's fine. We'll just kill them off each year. They'll make some more. Can you imagine this?
How do they
And
make
these are just people
what?
that I really just don't even understand. Okay, so that's what is actually here. And it's not the people, they won't call in the people that are the wonderful regenerative farmers who we know. This is what's so interesting. So King Charles is in town today, and he's going over to meet the president.
Okay.
Now we know, I don't know if we all know, we in this world usually know that he is a big fan of organics, okay, and regenerative
farms.
So he's a huge fan of it.
Huge.
So he sees, yes, if he sees Gabe Brown in the movies, and he said, I want to meet that man. Gabe Brown, who's an incredible, we know him to be an amazing farmer, who's teaching other farmers to regenerate. So he invites Gabe to go over to the palace. And he goes there and they have an incredible meeting. They hit it off. And now each year, Gabe Brown is going over and visiting with the king, probably the last 3 years.
Okay.
And they have done all kinds of things there. They're regenerating the UK. It is something that we should be doing here. Yes. And we have this superstar farmer that is from our North Dakota, but we are letting the UK take his expertise and rebuild their ag system. And here, even when you have all these people in Maha that came along for regenerative agriculture, can't get one meeting with our USDA, with our star farmer in this country. Not one. And I've tried for a year because we are so shut off to regeneration in this country that I just have nearly given up hope of it coming from the government. So, but it's okay. This is why it's okay. And I have to tell myself all the time, because we know the people that are doing it on their own. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen is that farmers who are going bankrupt because their soil is dead, they're going to have to learn a different way. And even if the government is just so tied in with chemical companies, they refuse to help our beautiful farmers in this country, show them what to do. We just have to keep on supporting and pushing this narrative like you do so well. You keep on bringing it to the forefront because it's through this consciousness, the rising consciousness that we're going to have this change. Because now I'm feeling disillusioned with what the potential is from a government perspective for sure. So now I have both perspectives.
Wow. Kelly Ryerson. Wow. Jesus.
But it's been so sad. It's been really sad to see that.
It's heartbreaking.
It is because it's right
you're
here.
up
It's
right
here.
Yeah.
You
You're
can
on
do
the
it. We
brink.
have enough money for it. And they just will not do it. And I don't understand.
You keep trying.
Keep trying. Over and over and over. And and Rick Clark is another person who's fabulous. Want to bring him into USDA.
I love these people.
I mean, there are people.
From Common Ground,
From Common Ground. And
they're both part of Common Ground.
They're both part of Common Ground.
Yeah.
And we have our team and everything, but we want it for everyone. And so I'm not sure what it's going to take, actually.
Well, this kind of messaging,
for
understanding what regenerative farming is, you know, involved with films like Common Ground and Feeding Tomorrow that are about expressing what it is. Because for me, when I started to watch the clips, when I started to see the movie, and even now, I could not stop crying because it was like a remembered truth. It's the ancestors. It's the ones that came before us. It's the ones that farmed.
It really is.
And they got us here. Without them, we would not be here. Without us regenerating the soil, they will not be here.
I have this thing that's happened the last few years where I almost feel like I'm a little too sensitive.
Hello? I don't hide it.
I feel like I'm a little too sensitive even for like all life. So like I just can give an example.
Of course.
Okay? Like, so the other night I was at this dinner and there was a moth, a moth. And this moth is happily on the flowers, you know, half the time it's like, well, that's nice. I mean, most people don't seek to have moths, but this one I was like, that's nice, it's doing its thing. And so then it gets stuck in this like sauce on a plate. And it's just they're struggling, right? Like struggling to get out. And I'm feeling this. It's going to sound insane, but I'm like, oh, I feel the panic of that moth, right? And so I have to take this knife. I take the moth out and I put it on the grass and I see it go away. And I'm like, good. Like, I'm not sure that that's normal.
Well, moths are about transformation.
Oh, are they?
So
is that what it was? Was it saving?
So maybe you're releasing like what is normal.
I mean, I guess that's true, right?
And like if we could all release any story of that.
I mean, well,
the moth maybe being like, thank you for
knows?
freeing me from the sauce and the story in which I've lived.
Well, I mean, it could be. It was just this, and I'm like, gosh, I shouldn't. And then amazingly, the same dinner, all of these beetles.
Oh, you're having a bug party.
It was like a really weird bug thing, and it was weird because it was on a regenerative farm. And so that was a good sign. And I was like, this is healthy soil.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. The best thing. I was like, okay, that's what this is about.
Yes.
Right. So anyway, and
Compost.
then very sadly, my dog passed in December, and it was horrible because that was my best friend. And I think that's kind of like set off this whole thing of just, oh gosh. But you know what? It's okay. But I think that then I take these other things even harder when going back to like a larger picture, when you see that these are small things that are happening on a small scale. You think about the injuries that are happening to every single person in a small form every day because of the way we do our farming and food is heartbreaking because it's avoidable. And you see the pain in other people. They don't know where that pain is coming from, but I know, and I kind of like wish I didn't know because it's so sad because you know it's avoidable. But I think and that's one of the things that really drives the education that I want to give, because it's just, you see like little kids who you see they have this problem, you know basically probably what's going on, but you're not their mom. So you can't really step in and help. So what can you do like on a larger scale to make people informed so that they do that? It brings me some solace.
Please, if there's any other wisdom that you want to share about what's currently going on or what your next steps are.
Yes. So I, right now, and we'll see, probably by the time this comes out, we'll know, and hopefully it all goes well. But I'm fighting very hard right now because the government, both the executive, judicial, and Congress is in so deeply with the pesticide companies that they are willing to trade our right to sue chemical manufacturers when we get sick from exposure. They're willing to trade that and give chemical companies an immunity shield. So if we get sick from any kind of chemical exposure, we'll no longer be able to sue the pesticide manufacturer. And what's remarkable is watching all the people willingly lining up for that when you presume that they also have children.
Right.
And just yesterday I was in a meeting and it was a big committee meeting in Congress, and one of the very disgusting men actually said, I love Roundup. I can't wait to go back to my house. I'm going to be spraying it. My wife and I love it. We're going to spray a bunch of it. He said how many gallons he's going to spray, and it was just really obnoxious and terrible. And I took a picture of him because I wanted to document, and he said, sorry, I didn't smile for your picture. I mean, this is an elected official in this country that is batting for Roundup. I mean, what a weird thing that is anyway. Who really goes to bat for something that kills? And knowing that is who we have running things just like, where are the women? First of all, we need a lot more women, but not all the women are great. But if we brought in the women that truly had a maternal instinct, or didn't like death, or didn't like war, or didn't like, and there are some, you know, we could change things. And I do think that like this movement is a lot of certainly my partners. I have a few men, but most of them are women in this movement, and I think it's up to us to be able to heal things the way I think only women should. Well, women can, not even should, can. And that's why I'm thankful for you to be a big part of it.
I'm so excited. What can we do next together? It's
I know,
exciting.
that's what we need to think about.
I'm so grateful that the stars brought us together.
Me
and that
too.
Is there anything like 5 tips, like children or, you know, young adults or anyone that you just say, this is how we can change things?
Yeah.
I loved that in Common Ground at the end. They gave like 5 tips.
Are
there like
I'll
a
give
couple,
some nice practical tips.
I can't even imagine a better person in the world.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know, but okay.
Top 5.
All right. So number 1, these are just very practical. Okay.
That's perfect.
Okay. Practical.
Clearly what I am.
Okay. So clearly.
I specialize in practicality. I will take my seat.
Number 1, everyone needs to buy a water filter or save up for a water filter. This is number 1 to our health, and is very, very sad that in order to have clean water, basically you have to have the means to be able to buy a water filter. I think that is a very sad statement on society, but truly, if you're having any kind of ailment, that is definitely in my book, is number 1.
Okay. I totally agree.
You know, number 2, make sure you're not spraying anything on your garden. Ask your gardener or whoever's doing your landscaping to really check, because sometimes they'll spray and you don't realize it, and then you're out there happily enjoying your bare feet. You think that like it's clean, and unfortunately a lot of these pesticides can go up through the skin, and next thing you know, you're contaminated. And this is especially true also with pets. If you have dogs, when you're out for a walk, you need to kind of be careful where you're walking them, because lymphoma in dogs is through the roof, which is sad because of that exposure on the little paws. Too sad. Number 3, try and eat as organically as possible, and even better, organic regenerative, because we know that to be much more nutrient dense. And if you can't afford that, then I always recommend going to the Environmental Working Group, where they have a list of foods. It's the Clean 15, Dirty Dozen. And if you can't afford organic, you can at least buy the things that are going to be lower pesticide content. Which is, yes, it's great. So for example, you might not guess that potatoes are horrible with pesticides, awful. So don't buy a potato that is not organic.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a really big one. And then let's see. And then finally, a lot of times people say, well, how do you even live? Because you must be eating glyphosate free all the time. And I don't. Once I got to a healthy point in my illness, I had to also return to having a social life. And so I'm very much like 30-70 person, where I'm 30% out. And then when I'm at home, I'm eating as cleanly as possible. But you also you're not very healthy if you can't have a normal social life.
Exactly.
So you have to just balance those two. And sometimes, you know, maybe it's 50-50, we see, but then you can always come back and then go clean for a while and get stable, as long as you're overall in good health. So, and actually, finally, you'd be amazed to know how incredible magnesium is. And every single person in this country should be on magnesium, because our food doesn't have it anymore. And so this whole epidemic of severe anxiety and depression, which is so closely tied to magnesium, is a really big thing, to the point that when I see people having road rage, I'm like, that person genuinely needs magnesium badly, because I know it's not in the food supply.
Before bed, like magnesium?
I do before bed, but sometimes I do in the morning and night. And it makes me feel good. Like for a while I was having terrible migraines, and when I upped my magnesium, they went away.
Okay,
this is great.
Oh, thank you for these tips.
So those are the tips.
I love it. We're going to continue these tips. Now I have a million more questions, so I can't wait for more.
Oh yes, totally.
Now let's go eat dinner.
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome.
Sweet dreams from Washington, D.C.
That's right.
They tell us to eat healthy, while the fruit and vegetables that we can afford are sprayed with glyphosate that we cannot wash off.
now we're just going to spend the night here on the lawn at the Capitol. Maybe you have some camouflage, because...
Oh no, what if it's glyphosate?
Oh, it is glyphosate. Let's go hide in the bushes quick.
Can't earth anywhere.